radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing? Today's Monday, March 7th, 2022. 66 days into the new year, only 299 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location, but it is beautiful in here. Yeah, it is. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? How you doing? All right, kicking off our World in Transition Week. Tonight we welcome very special guest for the first time. Roderick Martin is here. The new voice, the new view for our UFO community. And we'll be discussing the question, why the big secret? That's right. That's the name of his show. Why the big secret? Tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain is back. And she's going to tell us how to elevate. That's tomorrow night. I'm very excited. Always great when Maureen joins the show. And then Wednesday night, closing out the week this week, Richard Dolan. Richard Dolan returns. That's right. To talk about our world on edge. That's right. And then Thursday's another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. What a great week. It's going to be an amazing week. And let's get the show cracking. We've got a lot to discuss. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can start right there at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. You can come over and hang out with us there. And Twitter is always live, man. It is always live. It is right in front of me. And everybody popping in with their... I got to have my gifts. Dr. Sleep. That was good. Dr. Sleep was good. That came in from Madeline. And there you go. Ken Priest is in. And I was going to wear Ken's hat tonight. I did. It's hard for me to wear hats, with headphones. But I was going to wear Ken's Rise hat. Yeah, it's a nice hat. So there you go. Twitter is always live right in front of me. I jumped over really quick over to YouTube, and there you go. It's been very busy around here, and I guess it's been busy for just about everybody. Let's get to some of the crazy breaking news. And first up tonight, vodka. Vodka is in the news. That's because Stolichnaya, Stolichnaya vodka is now rebranding. It's now going to go by its nickname, Stoli. The vodka brand, which has previously been marketed as Russian, changed its name as, and I'm quoting, a direct response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Stoli Group said in its press release last Friday. The founder of the company, the Russian-born billionaire Yuri Shefler, said the name and its association with Russia was no longer representative of the brand, and that he has been exiled from Russia since the year 2000, 22 years, or 22 years, due to his opposition to Putin. And there you go. All right. Well, it's always been called Stoli, but now it's official. Apparently, there's no Russian ingredients in, let alone it's not made in Russia. I think it's made in Latvia. I could be wrong on that. But that's it. Rebranding. There you go. Now, Scott Kelly, the former NASA astronaut, is heating things up because he publicly clashed with Dmitry Rogozin, I think that's how you say his name, Rogozin, director of Russia's Roscosmos Space Agency. All of this happened on Twitter, with Kelly implying that Russia could soon have no space industry at all without international cooperation. The hostile exchange was sparked by a March 2nd tweet by Rogozin, which included footage of Roscosmos staff stripping a Russian rocket of international flag decals. I watched the video myself. They're up. They're on the scaffolding. They're peeling the stickers off, painting over it, and placing new stickers over the old international flags, including the United States. Kelly tweeted, he tweeted in Russian. This is the translation from Russian in that tweet. Quote, Daman, without those flags and the foreign exchange they bring in, your space program won't be worth a damn. Maybe you can find a job at McDonald's if McDonald's still exists in Russia, end quote. And that doesn't end the Roscosmos news right now, because Russia's Roscosmos Space Agency has produced a video clip depicting the International Space Station being split apart, with the Russian section becoming separate. The video, accompanied by upbeat music, used real footage of Russian cosmonauts on board of the ISS closing airlock doors. You know, the airlock doors that separate sections of the station. Then it shows a mission control team watching a computer-generated video of the Russian segment of the ISS separating from the rest of the station and floating away. The clip was shared to Telegram on Saturday by Russian state news agency RIA Novosti. And it's a crazy video. It's hard to find, though, because it's on Telegram and it's not out there in any other media at the moment, but I've seen it. Pretty nuts. All right. Now, are you ready for this? The creepy news of the day. A huge, palm-sized invasive spider that invaded Georgia from East Asia could soon take over most of the United States East Coast. All of this in a new study that has just been revealed. The research, published back on February 17th in the journal Physiological Etymology, suggests that the palm-sized Joro spider, look it up, Joro, the Joro spider, which swarmed North Georgia by the millions last September, has a special, it can withstand the cold. That's right. This has led scientists to suggest that the 3-inch bright yellow striped spiders, whose hatchling disperse by fashioning web parachutes, and they can fly as far as 100 miles, the little baby spiders on those parachutes, could soon dominate the entire eastern seaboard. You got to check these spiders out. Now, the venom is not poisonous to cats or dogs or humans. The bite won't pierce the skin and all of that. But they are gnarly looking. They're this big, right? They're that big. They're like black with red and yellow stripes and just nasty looking. But they're harmless. But they eat everything in sight. And you know what they build? Their webs are not they're tubes. Tubular spider webs. And some of these spider webs are 10 feet long. Absolutely insane. The pictures all over Georgia of these things. It's insane. And no, is that it? Is that it? Is that the Georgia? Yeah, look at that. Isn't that a crazy? Thank you, Kaz. Stoli is made in Latvia. That's from Madeline. Thank you, Madeline. All right, now here we go. The other creepy news of the day. And I got to tell you, Renee is on top of her game. The United States plans to send unmanned mine-seeking helicopters into combat. Okay, let me repeat that. Unmanned mine-seeking helicopters into combat. The United States Navy is to integrate a mine countermeasure system onto its Fire Scout drone, a pilotless helicopter able to detect and localize mines and obstacles on land and at sea. The Fire Scout Program Office, in conjunction with several Navy bodies, are preparing to execute the final phase of the single-system multi-mission airborne mine detection system. The copter, developed by BAE Systems, utilizes an airborne optical sensor suite that will have the ability to have real-time onboard processing, coupled with low false alarm rates that will enable the warfighter to respond swiftly to detected threats. I gotta say, is that a good idea? Holy crap. There you go. Kaz. Yeah, that's it. That's it right there. The Joro spider. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Bryan Cranston. 65 years old. And he's one of the best actors in Hollywood right now. Rachel Wise. Today is 52. Brandon T. Jackson is 37. And Brandon T. Jackson, I know what you're saying. Who is Brandon? Tropic Thunder. Yeah, that Brandon T. Jackson. He is hilarious. Wanda Sykes today is 57. And Jay Giles Band frontman Peter Wolf today is 77. Remember those songs, right? Like Centerfold, Freeze Frame. Yeah, Peter Wolf today, 77. And drummer Kenny Aronoff today is 70. Our dead guy's birthday today is serious moment of silence for Arthur Lee. 1945 to 2006, died at the age of 61. Arthur was a singer-songwriter who rose to fame as the leader of the L.A. rock band Love. Love's 1967 album Forever Changes was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame, and it is part of the National Recording Registry. After years of drug abuse and problems with the law, which also led to prison time, Lee moved back to Memphis, Tennessee. He underwent several months of treatment for leukemia, including chemotherapy and an experimental stem cell transplant. His condition continued to worsen, and then he died from complications of the disease in Memphis at the age of 61. Arthur Lee, happy birthday. On this day in history, 1876, Alexander Graham Bell patents the telephone. 1876, 150 years ago. Wow. Fader fact. Okay, here you go. Do you own a Dodge Ram pickup truck? Do you own a Dodge Ram pickup truck? I'm just asking. All right. Okay. Because Ford F-150 isn't on this list. You ready? One, this is your fader fact. One out of 22 people who own a Dodge Ram pickup truck have a DUI. 1 out of 22. And Ram pickup trucks are the most common vehicle involved in a DUI accident. That's right. And that is your fate or fact. Those are the facts. That's a fact. 1 out of 22. Wow. Got to change our marketing around here at Dodge. We got to focus that on our target audience. All right. Tonight, we welcome very special guest right here on this very program, Roderick Martin. And he is here for the first time. And we're going to be discussing, well, the name of his show, which is Why the Big Secret. And our UFO community. There is a lot to talk about tonight with Roderick. So stay right there. He'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain is here. 2 new books out with Maureen. Opening the Akashic Records right there. Opening the Akashic Records. And Beyond the Flower of Life. And this one is updated. And it's right there. So these... We'll be talking about that tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we are elevating. Wednesday night, Richard Dolan returns to talk about our world on edge. And it is. That's why this is World in Transition Week here on Fade to Black. And Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. I'll go get the vodka. Yeah, Wanda Sykes. Amazing. And there's Brian Cranston. You guys are so quick. Man, it's so quick on Twitter. It's just amazing. Amazing to me. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Rivermoonwellness.com. Yeah. So, church, where do you get those pipes? Well, I've always had these pipes, but I keep the pipes healthy with River Moon coffee. That's right. I used to crack jokes. So, church, where'd you get the? How do you get the pipes? I would say, man, I gargle broken glass with vodka every morning. That was my joke. The truth is, River Moon coffee. Rivermoonwellness.com. All right. I don't even know where to start. Because my world, this world, and along with the rest of it, all of it is in transition. And I'm trying to keep up with things, and I've got so much stuff going on. And then we have the rest of the world, right? And the United States. And I've just got stuff going on. I'm trying to keep up with everything. Like tonight I'm testing out another microphone. This one happens to be an older, not that old, EV Electro Voice RE320 that I've had in the back for a while. I've got over here. Okay, just check this out. So 3 more mics that I've gone through, right? The Shure, the Procaster by Rode, and then the Tascam TM70, which I love this mic too. I love them all. And this week, as promised, I've got another one up here. And, the world in transition, right? And so there's that. And I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna do a shootout of all of these mics. And I don't know which one I'm leaning on yet, but I'm gonna do them all back to back. But that's part of the transition. That's part of the things that are going on around here, right? And as you can see, last week I had a bunch of new artwork done. And I've got more coming in. And so we've got this, the changes to the fade to black imaging. And we've got so many channels and so many things and websites and social media and all of that. And all of that is in transition. So moving in new artwork, moving out the old artwork. And if you go through the jimmychurchradio.com website and you see how much imaging is there, it's a lot of work. And so that is coming in. Drew is up to his neck with work right now. So there's that. And on top of everything else that is going on with the imaging and gear here in the studio, because this isn't the only piece of new gear in here. And so there's all of that going on. We've just installed a new merchant system over on the website for jimmychurchradio.com. And that is a huge, complex undertaking, and one that is not over. The first stages of it have been installed and are up and running. And part of this transition is all of the memberships are going to be moved over to the new merchant system. If you're brand new to Fade to Black and you've gone and done it, well, then that's no big deal. But if you are on a month-to-month thing, your month-to-month is going to shut off, and you've got to go back, cancel, turn off any automated payments that you've got going because they're going to go to nowhere, and come back and put in your information and go with the new merchant system. So we're in the middle of that. And then on Friday, face mask, the mandates here in Southern California were all lifted. I walked into a store, kind of looked around. I said, man, cashiers are not wearing face masks. It's kind of weird. And I yelled over to the cashier, who I know. I said, what's up with the face mask? It ended an hour ago. And I looked around, no shop, nobody's wearing face mask. I took off my face mask and I did I went out and hung out in public, indoors this weekend just because I could without a face mask. So there's that transition. And I believe LA schools, I can't speak for the rest of California. I'm just talking about Southern California. Face mask mandates are gone. And I'm sure it's the same way across most of the country right now. Everything got lifted. The world in transition, right? And then we have this war in Europe right now, world in transition. Russia right now, they are just like, what did we do? Because of the transition that is going on over there. And then we have our community. On top of everything else, it's just like a world in transition. Our community is now circling back, the UFO community. Now it's back to its old shenanigans. And this and that and proof and what is going on and UAPs and UFOs and there's new videos that have been circulated and images and new documents out and the infighting with that. It's been insane to keep up with. And then, of course, Chris Mellon, he's out there stirring the pot. And he just busted out a new article over at The Hill. And, just causing, with everything else that I'm trying to stay focused, right? I'm trying to stay focused, man. I've got so much going on and everything else is happening at the same time. It's a world in transition. It's a world in whirlwind transition. And it's all happening so fast. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've got this nasty habit of going to bed late and getting up early. Okay? I cannot sleep in. I'm up at 7. I'm up at 7:30 in the morning. I go to bed at 2. It's 4.5 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep, and I cannot sleep in. I cannot do it. I feel like the world in transit is going to blow by me. I got things to do. There is stuff happening all day long, and I am up. It's a world in transition. And this is the crazy part. And this is the reason for this rant right now. It's exciting. In a weird way, it's exciting. And my advice to all of you is don't rest. Right now, this world is blasting forward. I mean, it is just everything is go time right now. Don't rest. Don't rest. It's gonna pass you by. It's like that, and that is exciting. With the mask mandates being lifted across the country, I looked at the numbers today, and they're almost non-existent. They're dropping so fast here in the United States. I can't speak for other countries. It's dropping around the world. There are still some countries out there where they've got some elevated levels, but for the most part, it's in a complete rapid nosedive. And a world in transition. Now, what are we going to do once this pandemic is over? That's it. That's it. It's time. It's go time. And it is exciting. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, right here, Roderick Martin. We're going to be discussing the name of his show, Why the Big Secret. Tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain is here because it's time to elevate. It's a world in transition. Now is the time. Wednesday night, Richard Dolan returns to talk about our world on edge. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Favorite night of the week, by the way. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UnX Networks. Race Hobbs. I'll be right back with Roderick Martin after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all Rivermoon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What a great week we have got here on Fade to Black. And tonight, Roderick Martin is joining us for the first time. Tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain is back. It's time to elevate. Wednesday night, Richard Dolan returns to talk about our world on edge. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, it's all about Roderick. Roderick is joining us. He's one of the new voices of our UFO community. And this evening, we're going to discuss his research, his experiences, and how our community needs to expand to a wider audience. We're going to do all of that tonight. He's a Mutual UFO Network MUFON, Texas Certified Field Investigator. He became interested in this field when he witnessed his first UFO sighting at the age of 12 in Dallas, Texas. Since that first sighting, he spent years researching extraterrestrial activity, which led to his certification in the field. He is the creator and host of the podcast, Why the Big Secret, which can be found on his YouTube channel, as well as various podcast outlets. And in May of 2021, Extraterrestrial Evidence was selected as a finalist for Clubhouse's inaugural Creator First Accelerator program. He maintains one of the largest UFO clubs on the drop-in audio app, boasting 24,000 members. He is one of the most successful shows to come to the Accelerator program, and he took his fame and parlayed that into securing a hosting opportunity for a new Discovery Plus Network UFO-themed show alongside other luminaries in the UFO field. Martin also has an upcoming television project on such networks as Fox, Tubi, and Forbidden Knowledge TV. His website's right there, whythebigsecret.com. And his YouTube channel links are over in social media and over on our website. I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Roderick Martin. Roderick, good evening. How are you, man?
Jimmy. I'm doing all right. How about you, buddy?
I am fantastic. And welcome to the program. And before we get started, Roderick, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. Which is this. Roderick, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. There you go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Now, we've known of each other for a while. We just had an opportunity to hang out at a secret location somewhere on the East Coast. We won't get into that just yet. We'll save that for another show. But it was great hanging out with you. And one of the things, you and I had the opportunity to sit down and talk one-on-one a few times over the weekend, and those were long discussions. And your knowledge into the subject is impressive. You really I'm just going to say it like this. You've really got a grip of what's going on, and you've got some facts, but you've also got your opinions on the subject too as well. And I want to get into all of that tonight. But first, can we back up though and talk about your childhood and the sighting that happened at the age of 12? Let's go before that. Did you know anything about UFOs or the subject before your first sighting?
No, I think, and that's a great question. And I appreciate you having me on tonight and really just, I enjoyed that conversation we had too. I mean, yes, I knew of you and we just knew of your greatness and always just said, hey, someday I'm gonna get to meet the great ones out there, and then had an opportunity to sit down with you at a mere mortal fashion. And so just, and sometimes we're able to do that and get to know the great ones that way. But anyway, I think before that encounter, it's like anyone else. You watch some TV and everything else. And for the audience, you can take it back to my childhood. So as of 3 more days, I'll be 25 times 2 plus 3. No, plus two. I'm sorry. So while they're writing it down, figuring it out. So by that point, we can know what kind of shows was out back then, and so I had an opportunity to really watch some TV in that neighborhood, but really didn't take on to what I saw that night as months and years rolled by, as I began to realize, hey, you know what? Something special happened that night.
And what did happen?
Well, just like everyone else, if you grew up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, where it's a little different than it is today, back then, you can sit out in the street light and play and, until mom flashes the porch light and tell you it's time to come in, and so just so happened it was one of those nights. So in order for that to happen, we're talking about it's just about being ready to get dark, and, so you got the night sky meeting the stars about to come out. And as I was heading back to the house and got to the front porch, kind of looking back at my friends who could stay out after the porch light flashes. And so you got a little jealousy there I had. And so I kind of looked up and I was like, that's strange. And there was a white metallic looking disc object, and it was just kind of zigzagging across the sky. So I knew right then this is not something normal. And then right behind it, maybe, some yards away, there was 2 jets flying behind it, zipping, as it moved, they moved and just went across the sky. And this thing, and there was no noise or nothing except I heard them when they passed. And this was here in Dallas. And so it was just about, it was dark, because that's when she flashes those lights, but it was right there. And then at that moment, I stared there, Jimmy, and I was like, what the hell was that? Or heck is that? I guess if I can say that here on radio. But the whole point was that I grew up in that neighborhood where this is just not something you're going to go talk about, and you're not going to go, and say, hey, I saw a UFO last night. Even a neighborhood bully is not going to do that and lose his street cred, right? And so it just stayed with me over the years as I grew up. But then as I began to watch TV shows, you got E.T. came out at that point, Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the, you remember that. And that's when it dawned on me in more of a thorough fashion that what I saw that I didn't know what it was, I now know what it was. It's a UFO. And so that's when I was like, this is real. This is real.
And you describe it as a saucer, which I love that description. How far away was it? And did you have any idea of its size?
Well, it's funny you asking the investigators questions, right? Those are some of the things that we do. And I would probably could say if someone was to hold a quarter or nickel right in front of them, you're looking at that size and dimension. But I would probably, it had to be, it was flying low altitude enough that, I can hear and see the 2 jets distinctively. Now, it was kind of a blur, but yet you can see the object. So it wasn't like, hey, I can see there was windows or were there any type of other than it's just zigzagging and it had this illumination to it, So I would approximately say maybe, some thousands of feet up, high as our downtown skyscrapers, so, and so it was probably pretty high.
It's no, I would say that's pretty
low.
low.
I would say low.
Yeah, okay. I would say that's pretty low. With field investigation today, and you bring up a great point that I'm asking the questions that you would ask. Mm-hmm. Well, you are doing that now when you have somebody trying to describe what they've seen and knowing how you are, fight to describe your own experience. You have to apply your own experience to how you investigate, right?
Yeah, sometimes you do, but then you have to put on a different lens as an investigator because most people that report a UFO, they have one thing in common, and they need someone to believe in them. And that's a thing that you have to go in as an investigator because I believe that UFOs exist and I believe that we're not alone in this universe. I can't approach the investigation that way because my outcome is to find out what this person saw. Mm-hmm. So, you're going to find out, is the witness credible or not? And you're going to ask those questions like you asked me. How far up with it? Because at this point, I'm going to check other avenues to see, could this person possibly have seen this particular thing at this particular height, at this particular time, at this particular place, right? So when you get down to talking with those witnesses, again, you have to take the hat off as a believer, but you have to go into see what the facts line up first.
And what about at the age of 12? Did you run in the house and tell your parents? Did you tell your friends at school? How did you handle yourself?
Well, at that time, I had this nickname that I probably won't mention it enough, but I guess I could. It will make a great story. My grandmother used to have this cuckoo clock. And when I was even 3 or 4 years old, it used to, every hour it comes out, go cuckoo, cuckoo. So at this point, this is what I used to stand and do. And so as I grew up, that was a nickname that I had, cuckoo, right? Or cuckoo bird or whatever. So the last thing I'm going to do is go run out, hey, man, cuckoo, saw a UFO last night. And now you're talking insult to injury at this point. But so I did not tell anyone. It was my secret. I made a mumble it here and there, but at that time, I'm, a mile or two away from the zoo. You hear lions and tigers and bear, all these things at night roaring, we less than a mile from this thing, a few blocks. And so to put that in contrast, there was just so much stuff going on in the neighborhood because it was a bad neighborhood before you just start trying to bring up UFO as a topic,
And was the sighting, did you think about checking out the news? Was it on the news? Did anybody else see it?
No, at 12 years old, I don't think that I had the curiosity that I have today as an adult in this. It was just more of a mystery. And wow, because at the time when it happened, I still have not put a pinpoint in my brain of what that was. Let's go look up and see if there was any reports so my investigation hadn't started then. It wasn't until later on in life that I realized what I have seen, and I still remember it as vivid as it was, right now happening. But at that moment, it was just something that, strange that happened. I saw it. I may have whispered to a couple of people what happened, but I did not run in the house and say, oh, mom, And my mom was a single parent and raising 3 boys by herself. So that's not something you're going to go distract her with, Did you start trying to do your own research and investigation? You start to head to the library and did your interest elevate from there? My interest elevated once I think somebody started watching some of the movies. And that's what brought it into reality that, wait a minute, this alien thing or this UFO spacecraft thing, wait a minute, I saw that, and at that point, then the curiosity started. And then at that point, just being a fan of the subject, so I would read different things. I will, maybe, see a couple of books or something that was out there. Because at that time, there wasn't a lot of things on the internet. I wasn't privileged at that point, at that age to really have access to the internet and stuff like that. So even at school, you probably, and the web was just kicking around back in the 80s. I think this was in the 80s. But so in theory, it was television that connected the dots, TV.
Did you try to find any UFO conferences? Were you looking at other possible researchers out there that were talking about the phenomenon?
Well, I at some of the stores, I would see the UFO magazines. There was two types. There was a regular, back that time, I think it was UFO magazine.
Yeah, UFO magazine, sure.
Yeah, and so I would see those, and in best as I could, I would kind of like skim through them, because again, I wasn't able to afford to buy them. It was, I think back then was a milestone, $3, $2, $3, $1.50, I don't know, but growing up as a kid, that's just not money that you had. We didn't. But then there was also right next to those was the comic books UFOs. And so now you have to, as a kid, you like comic books. I've always have. You see the stories, but you distinctively know comic books are not real. These are, cartoons, people just creating stories. Right next to that, you got a UFO magazine. So you have to sit there and say, wait a minute, here's a magazine talking about something that's real, but then this comic book is not real. That will play with you for a while to think about, wait a minute, this is, which side did you go? Do you go left or do you go right with this? Ultimately, I went left because I believe what I saw, and then start looking more into what those magazines had to offer information.
Now, today, you're a radio and television host. Again, you're a bona fide, fresh, new voice for this community. But it doesn't start there. What was the transition of you? Because you've been with MUFON for what, 12 years? What's that?
Couple of years, really. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I thought it was longer. When did you?
I joined as a member longer. I was paying that monthly for about 8, 9, 10 years. So you get access to their information.
Right.
And ultimately, I became an investigator.
Okay. So how did you find MUFON, and why would you seek out MUFON?
Well, there's a story behind that. Maybe I can share the whole side of this thing, and it may motivate other people that's listening, the audience as well. But, I was like everyone else. You watch Hangar One, you watch all of these shows, and then you see the guys that, got the MUFON shirts, they're talking about this UFO thing. And I'm like, man, that's just incredible people. I'm already interested in it. I'm read all the different stuff. I know now at this time as a full grown man, I've done my research. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in this thing, but I'm not in the game, but I'm like, you know what? I want to really get in this thing. And so as I watched all the TV shows, Ancient Aliens, and the list just goes on and on and on. And ultimately one day, I was talking to my then wife, my young wife, and I mentioned it to her. I said, I really want to go deeper into this. I really want to really bring some a different cultural lens to this thing. I want to look at this thing a little deeper. And she laughed. And, and I had a funny wife, so I thought I had a joke. But she was laughing to say, yeah, right, you crazy, right? And so that craziness became an eternal argument in the house, because this is beginning to be a dream that I wanted, because I start seeing, the MUFON, and then I later on found out that MUFON had a Dallas chapter. Mm-hmm. So this made this even more intriguing. Now I'm real close to this thing, right? And so I was on Facebook, and Facebook got this retargeting thing, and I'm sure I must have went to the website or something, and MUFON popped up across my screen one weekend, and it said, oh, in 3 weeks we're having a chapter meeting. I was ecstatic. I was like, heck yes, this is it. This is my moment. I'm going to do this thing. Well, I'm just going to go out and meet some people because, of course, we can get into this later. I'm in my friendship in my community. We're not talking about UFOs. So I'm already sitting along in a cuckoo tree, right?
Right.
So, and so I'm like, I got this, Jimmy. I got it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to talk UFO to some people. And I told my wife and I said, hey, babe, I got it. I want to do this. I want to go out here and talk to some people and maybe see about joining the crew, becoming an investigator and, all these things. And, I thought, I sent the message to my wife. This is what I want to do. And so a few weeks later, my car broke down. So we had 2 cars. And so now I'm relying upon the one vehicle, but the appointment is still set for me to go. And that Sunday came and, I was excited the night before and she knew it and she called. And when I expected her to come back and I said, hey, what time are you going to get here? I'm ready to go. It's already started, but I'm going to be an hour late, but I'm going to meet some people. And I started hearing a little, I don't know if you hear this, but little clinks and clacks. I'm like, what the heck is that? Oh, me and my sister, we went out to lunch. And I'm like, now I got Scooby-Doo look like, wait a minute, I'm ready to go to this MUFON thing. She didn't come home. And our issues had issues, but this one was an issue. And so I said, well, hey, wait a minute. Now we barking down a dream of mine, something that I wanted to do. And I know I can do this and I want to do this. And she simply said, no, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you around that stuff and blah, blah, blah. So, as anything else, as a man, Jimmy, you start really thinking, about this kryptonite of the Superman who I am. And I decided to be a good husband. And I was going to lay down the sword and say, you know what? This is bothering my wife. I'm not going to pursue this because obviously this is deeper, and we'll get into this later. This is deeper than her just not liking it because I need to figure out why is she having this pushback about this UFO thing, and at the time, now that we're divorced, now that I'm better at understanding cultural lens and that based on anybody's experiences, I now understand. But then it was war because I felt, hey, this is somebody not letting me do what I want to do. And now we have an argument in the house. And so ultimately, she won that day because I didn't go. And so, but about 3 months later, we was separated. And at that moment, I decided one day, I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and take the exam. And I ultimately went and became certified and went through all of MUFON's criteria to become an investigator. And then later you get your certification. And the rest was history. And I have a lot of stories behind that.
Yeah, let me ask you this. As a newly minted single man, right? Okay. So you got
roof.
Yeah, you got some freedoms, and were you just like, well, wait a minute, I can go to this meeting now, and you did you just like what was that drive like, to your first MUFON meeting?
Well, here's the deal. You don't think about that part yet, but yes, it did arrive of, you're single, you can do what you want. I'm still angry. I'm still angry of, why is this pushback? Why can I not do what I wanted to do? Now, I didn't think about my freedom at this point. I'm free. I can, really go do this, right? I'm still mentally trying to see where this, like I said, our marriage already had issues. The issues had issues. But at this moment, this is still sticking out in front of me because now you got this phenomenon. You got this thing that I want to pursue that, was she trying to say I'm crazy without saying it? You get what I'm saying? So all of these things are processing because we are dealing with a subject matter at that moment that just wasn't too keen, not only in my community, but just about anywhere anyway, right? So once that I began to process it and say, wait a minute, I can do this. I'm going to go out and do this. So I was really excited. I started contacting the state directors, sending emails, and actually responding to emails that I sent them when I was in the marriage talking about I wanted to be an investigator. So I'm going back over these things, and ultimately one of the guys said, hey, I would love to talk with you on the phone. And that's how it started before the meetup, and so I'm on the phone, and then at this moment, it's like, okay, it's going to be X amount of dollars to take this exam and all this stuff at that moment. And so that was another, not so much a big obstacle at the point, but just, okay, man, you could spend several, not to get their fees out, whatever they do now, but you're going to spend some few extra dollars on this thing. Is this what you want to do? And man, it was the best thing I ever could have done. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Sorry that the relationship went where it went, but man, this life of mine is on a rocket ship to space. And that's where I'm going.
Yeah, for sure. I will never forget. I've got a minute before the break. I will never forget, because my world was closed down too. Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't discuss this stuff with my friends. Not really. I tried to, but I kept it all, under wraps. But my first MUFON meeting, 2008, 2007, 2008, right in there, I couldn't wait for that meeting and hanging out and listening. So I'm standing there, Roderick, and I'm sure you went through the same thing, but I'm listening to conversations before the meeting started, people talking about different sightings and a thing that they're investigating or whatever. And I'm listening. I'm like, I'm here with friends talking about UFOs. This is awesome. And I mean, because you're just so bottled up, and you can't. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm listening, and some of these people are my closest friends today, right? But I'm listening, and I'm like, I cannot believe they're talking about this.
Yes.
Out in the open, right? and with people standing around them going, yeah, that's wow. And I just had the best time. That first MUFON meeting for me was just really, really special.
It's really what I will call it's that moment, right? And for me, Jimmy, it was a little different because I'm walking into a place, and I can say this as clear as I want to say, there wasn't too many people look like me in that room.
How many? Okay. I got to head to a break. Were you the only black person there?
I think so, because I didn't see anyone else, but that don't mean I didn't just sense that I was by myself.
We'll pick up right
where. Keep MUFON out of this to say, hey, he was the only one. No, I think I was the only one at the moment, at the time that I was standing right there.
All right, let's take our break. Roderick Martin is with us tonight, first time on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain. Wednesday night, Richard Dolan. Thursday is another Fader night. Right here on Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UnX networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Anjali, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Well, we are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roderick Martin is with us, the new voice of the UFO community. And lots to talk about tonight with Roderick, and I don't know how we're going to squeeze it all in. But I do want to jump back a little bit here and ask you this. From your first involvement with MUFON, to where we are today with the UFO subject, in the media and everything else. Did you expect these days to actually have arrived versus where you were so many years ago?
Well, I got one request first, though.
What's that?
You got to let me do. This is Roderick Martin. You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. I got to get in on that. Can I just have my 2 seconds right now?
Yeah, just go.
All right, guys. This is Roderick Martin. You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade the Black. To black. There you go. All right, there we go. I just want to practice, so when my time comes,
oh man,
you already got the cut. You already got it.
Yeah. Well,
so
you
could make it that far.
You could, you can co-host. You can all come in here and. I'll take some time off and throw you the keys to the car.
I'll take it. So All right. So let's get down to from then and now is what you're asking, right?
Yeah. And because, when you're a host. I'm a host. We've, we share the same passions and kind of took the same route into this thing. And I had no idea. I had hopes and dreams, back in 2008 with my first MUFON meeting, but I had no idea that these things would arrive eventually into the mainstream.
Man, I tell you what, I got to go with you on that one because, I looked on TV, I saw the different people, I admired everybody from Linda Moulton Howe to we got Billy Carson, you got Whitley Strieber, Barbara Lamb, Kathleen Martin. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on. And now, all these people are in my phone, right? We talk. And, I would have never thought, that, where I would be today with this. And especially even if I had an opportunity to just tell you, not in more detail, but I can tell our audience what this transition has done, But at the end of the day, the acceleration of it, because I often have conversations with people that's been around ufology for 20, 30 some out years. And when I start going down some of the things that I have happened and things that are coming to happen, one of the things that they ask is how is this going on? How, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing this for 15 years or, and how is this particular things are happening to you? And I think that, and let me bring the audience into what is happening. Okay. Is that fair enough?
Sure.
And,
sure.
So basically, as I was telling the story earlier, where my ex-wife at the time, I could not, even indulge into the night watching of all these things. I have to make sure the TV is turned off from Ancient Aliens. Went from there saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to this MUFON meeting, signed up, became an investigator, created my first YouTube video talking about, the government secrets and what was happening at that time. Get a phone call from someone saying, hey, we saw your video. We want you to, be a host in a TV show on, on our network. And, once again, I'm thinking of being pranked. So at that point, I'm like, okay, can we do a Zoom meeting? And I'm like, yeah, we can do this, but not today. Let's go Friday. It was Monday. And the reason I picked Friday, because I figured whoever was pranking me, Jimmy, by that point would have forgotten about the prank.
Mm.
But ultimately, I get this email on Friday reminding me of a Zoom conference with this particular, group of people. And so I get on this thing and we start talking about, UFO shows. And here's the thing that, and I'm not tooting any horns, but this is just give everyone some context of where are we going with this UFO thing, this consciousness, all of these things. But there was a time that I would tell my ex-wife, hey, you got to give them something they've never seen before. You got to be, if you're going to be out here, you got to be your unique self, but just develop your persona, be who you are, give them. And I would say this consistently to her because she had an admiration of doing YouTube and social media, but then never realized I was talking to myself, right? And I ended up going through that interview. They asked me about UFOs, and I told them. And they told me about being a host in this TV show. And at the time, we're doing a Zoom meeting, and I got the camera on, but I'm still spaced out of this thing because I'm like, this is not happening. What the hell is going on here, right? They said, well, Roderick, we need you to look into this camera. And so, Jim, I looks in the camera, and the lady says, well, I want you to know this is real. You're going to be a star. This is real. And I'm saying, am I that transparent? She said, yes, you are. Because obviously she must do. I was not believing a word coming out these people's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately they said, well, we're going to send you some paperwork. We want you to, sign this and basically let us an opportunity to put some things together. And I said, well, okay, why? And why did you pick me? Why did you find me? Or how? And the lady said these words, you're something we never seen before. So I was blown away at that moment. Like, this is incredible, and the one person I wanted to tell out of anybody in the world was her, and not out of envy, but just, baby, this happened, baby, like the movie, 5 Heartbeats or something, baby doll, this is happening, when he's telling. So, all right, so let's move on. 2 weeks later, I get on Clubhouse, and she's the one, because we still communicating a little bit, says, hey, you need to get on Clubhouse because you could talk about UFOs. You can finally talk about people in UFOs. I was like, okay, shoot, what is that? So I pull up the app and notice that, hey, they got rooms about UFOs. I'm like, hey, well, shoot, this is it. I could talk about UFOs. So I, get in it, started my club, asked her to be my first member because I wanted to know how the app was like, but really I just wanted her to hear me talk. But she said, I'm not doing that. So my goal, Jimmy, was to get at least 20, 30 people once again that I can lively talk about UFOs. So I get on that, and ultimately, today that club is one of the largest there. I got 24,000 people, and I do a show there weekly, and that's weekly with 2 E's, not W-E-A-K. And but before that, Clubhouse ran this program, and they wanted some content on the app. They was looking for creators, and 5,000 or 6,000 people submitted. I was one of them. They chose 60 people. I became one of the 60 people that they chose. And they said, look, we're going to give you $1,000 to create a first UFO show. Okay. And we want you to do this, and we're going to have some judges and everything. So, man, I'm calling around. I'm still new. I'm trying to connect with people. I'm asking the community, hey guys, I got this $1,000. I want, this time I'm going for the birds. I want Lou Elizondo. I want President. I want Jimmy Church. I want these people be on my show.
Right.
And so at this point, I couldn't reach nobody because I wasn't there in the connective thing. But, Alan Steinfeld, if you know him, he was very instrumental. And he says, you know what, I'm going to introduce you to a few people. And I said, okay, I appreciate it. And I ended up picking up the phone, calling Billy Carson, and he answered the phone. And I said, Billy, this is Roderick Martin. He said, what's up, bro? And I said, what's going on? So we got to talking, and I told him what I was up against. And I said, man, I am trying to find somebody for my pilot show. I got 2 weeks. I got to put somebody together. He said, I got you. I'll be there for you. And by this time, I reached Kathleen Martin, and she says, I got you. I'll be there for you. By this time, I reached Whitley Strieber. He said, I got you. I'll be on your show with you. And by this time, I end up reaching Linda Motenhouse. She said, I got you. I'll only give you an hour, but I'll be there. Okay. And so Barbara Lamb, she said, I got you. I'll be on there with you. And then then Alan was on there as well. And I had some, and Billy, and so all of a sudden I got this massive crowd of people, and I got 1.5 hours. All of them said yes, they'll help me out. And I was blown away. And the show was supposed to last 1.5 hours. And now you're trying to get all these people time to speak and tell their story.
Impossible.
It went for 3.5 to 4 hours long. I really dropped the mic. I said, forget it. I'm not going to even win this show. I'm not going to do anything, but I'm not going to let this moment go by. They can just talk all they want. Linda was like, I'm only going to be here a little bit. She was there for 2.5 hours too. We were dialoguing this thing back, and I had gave up. I was like, but you know what? It's going to be my one night forever to remember. And then about 3 weeks later, they sent me a thing and said, you or one of the winners. They gave me a contract, to do a weekly show there. And, I'm in the second season of that. So I was like, whoa, this is it. But then I didn't get another phone call from Fox Tubi, their production company, and said, we want you to be in our documentary. So now I already, signed a deal to do the one. And I can tell people, because I just, before you and I got on here, I was just watching the sneak preview of the show. They gave me the screener, and I can't say anything about it, but we filmed this thing for 2 weeks, and I'm probably in there like 6 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes there. And I'm like, is this how TV works? The rest is they doing their storytelling, but it was just a moment to look back on. So I filmed the documentary for Fox Tubi. And then most recently I've done a couple other projects. I do an 8-episode season of a project that is coming up next month. I will be going down to Beyond Belief with George Norrie in May. And I also have an agent now, and I just did another big thing that's going to be pretty impressive. Can't really go into the details. But, when I look at all this, Jimmy, from the radio, the contract with Clubhouse, the 6-7 TV things that's already happening this year, which none of them has aired yet. So no one really even knows who I am except for the people underneath this thing, right? Mm. And then lo and behold, I sit down and I eat lunch, dinner, some time with Jimmy Church, and I have to tell you, man, that moment was a very impressive moment because people see you where you are right now. They see the guitars. They got to know this is a lively person who plays guitars, right, or something. But I got to meet you personally. And when you took the time to, give me the intimate details about, where we are, where we're going, things that I could improve on. And you didn't have to tell me a lot of things that you told me. You didn't have to have those conversations. But you welcomed me to the community, and even when we met, you waited around for me to meet me, right?
I sure did. Yeah. Well, it made me feel pretty good. When, you get out of this very impressive car. You got your driver, right? But you jumped out, and I came out to greet you, but you just jumped out and said, "Man, Jimmy Church." and that made me feel great, and because this community is a small one.
You know what the good part about that, though, Jimmy?
What's that?
That means you look like what you look like. What they see is what they get. All the time, some people I got to look at somebody and say, "Is that Jimmy Church?" No, I said Jimmy Church.
Oh man, stop now. And now here's the thing. It's one thing to do TV and radio and movies and all of that, but the reason why you are doing that is your experience, not only as an investigator, but your research into this subject. And when you look back, I mean, you're talking about these things on camera now, and on Clubhouse and on your own show. This is a point where you have your opinions, but you're also bringing evidence forward. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look back, what's the case? What's the one case that you step back and go, okay, this to me is special. What's that one case that you think about the most?
Well, that's a great question, and I get that all the time because people say, "What's that one big thing?" And it's hard to really, now that you're in this, and it's all the familiar now. It's not as shocking as it was, but I would think if I had to go back and really decide. Now, are you speaking with a case that I probably had with MUFON or something that I just researched myself? Yeah,
we're going to get to that. We're going to get to MUFON. But the one case for me, let me help you out here. It's almost like a tie because you can't ignore Roswell.
I got one that's coming in my mind always, but go ahead.
Can't ignore Rendlesham. You can't ignore Travis Walton. You can't ignore Betty and Barney Hill. You can't Zamora and Socorro, New Mexico, right? There are these things that are tremendously Calvin Parker, right? Pascagoula, where these cases have so much supporting evidence to them and eyewitness testimony. And for me, it's almost like a tie where there isn't one case because I can focus on something else and see what makes that case so special. So that's my take. What's yours?
Mine would be Admiral Byrd in Antarctica, because Antarctica has always been something that intrigued me from all the stories, watching some of the documentaries, and then going back to, Operation High Jump, but then finding that there was more to the story prior to High Jump, right? And when you start looking at the different countries and how life and society for us and how close we could have probably been speaking German, all these things that resulted into high jump in after. But I think that was probably it. And, not to be a shocker here, but I think when you investigate Antarctica and you go previous to high jump, and when those beings told those Russian scientists that, we are the father of creation, we're from the different star system, that right there that got me to begin to go, wait a minute, hold on a minute. And that's when I start going to more of a, reading, the Bible, different things and verses and just looking for extraterrestrial evidence. And that's why I had named the show at the time, Extraterrestrial Evidence. I was on a hunt. I wanted to find the evidence. And although you believe, but you just want more. You want more. You want more than, and one of the things I learned from Robert Salas, the airman, U.S. airman, that when they turned off his nuclear weapons when he was in the silo. One of the things I learned from him from previous interviews and speaking with him on the phone is that trust the witnesses. That's what he always says. It's time to trust the witnesses. And that's really where you begin to believe in what you saw as a kid anyway, and I already have. But now when I start looking at all the people, Abner Byrd talking about Antarctica, all these different things, I was like, this was happening a long time ago. This is before Roswell. We knew about, even though Roswell's the big thing, but we've had an encounter that did not turn out so well. And just to get everybody curious in the story, it's just those beings told those Russian people, we know why you here, and they spoke telepathically, right? Mm-hmm. And as a joking matter of this is, did no one tell Abner Byrd, Jimmy, that these people knew they was coming and not knowing that he was coming and open up that can on us, So it's like where that memo got missed, so that's the intriguing part of this that keeps me going with that storyline. When the beings told them in the beginning, you don't have to tell us why we're here. We already know why you're coming. And then we want to send a fleet of people over there and as though we're going to sneak up on them. So,
Do you do, before we get to the break, do you go out on sky watches? Do you have the gear?
I bought a telescope and some stuff. And one of the things I wanted to do was start an organization for kids. And it was at the time called Project Stars. And I'm still working on it. It's a nonprofit group. And it's an acronym for using stargazing to start real space conversations. Because I think that's important today, even for our children. So I have done some sky watching and some things myself, but I think it's time, and we can get deep into it because of what's happening today in society. I think everybody needs to start preparing their kids with telescopes and stuff, because it's not about them becoming astronauts and that's not in studying astronomy. They need to be prepared for what's happening and be subconsciously knowing that there's something else out there. You got to get that curiosity for your kid to look over and say, Mom, is there something else out there, Dad? So you can prepare them for what is coming and what is happening. And that is, when they grow up, they're going to be going to space to go to work. They're going to look out that window. They're going to see some things. And if you don't prepare them now, what's going to happen? That's just one of my opinions.
From the age of 12 until now, have you had another sighting?
No, I have not. Well, no. I've seen some strange anomalies and things that you want to say, what is that? But nothing as vivid as that night, that is something that don't blow in the sky. That's a UFO. But, you might seen something go, blip or something like, man, that's strange, but nothing that is seared like this is that I can close my eyes. And if I had to draw it out, I can draw it out,
Why do you think that is?
Well, you mean not seeing anything else?
Yeah.
Well, I don't go looking up. I tell people all the time, I don't see a UFO. Well, who walks around looking up? But if you do, the possibilities of seeing something is there. I think that once you believe that now don't get me wrong, and you're touching on an area that, as an investigator, sometimes that you talk to someone on the phone or you going to visit this witness and they start saying, I see them all the time. And you got to really take a time to get to know this witness, because sometimes there's a thing within us that we want to be special. We want to be different. And it's just embedded in us as humans. And sometimes that comes out that I see them all the time. And then you go deep, well, somebody's tapping my phone all the time. So to go from, do I see them all the time, I'm special, to I'm losing my mind behind this, and as people can get, there's a lot of gray area with that. So I'm not discounting people who see them all the time, Jimmy, but I think for me, no, I saw that once and that was it. And I think that was enough to believe. But I'm not sitting here. I've been to a few CE5 experiences and things where they can summon these things up. So I've experienced that. But again, I have not just, been out there and going, man, there's another one. There's another one. Although to chime this off here, there has been some type of said within this ufology community that once you see them, it's like, there's some other kind of higher consciousness that you add that you're going to start seeing them all the time, right? I hear that a lot too.
The sightings that I've had, the 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I didn't ask you. So see now I'm sitting here talking about somebody and I'm like, oh, Jimmy Church now. That's all 15 UFOs.
No.
I'm gonna get kicked off the radio now. Okay, go ahead.
Is they all caught me by surprise.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for it. Wow, my acoustic foam on the ceiling just moved on me. Just as I said that, I saw the oh man, that was kind of weird. Is that?
No, we gotta get some evidence of that, so that we make sure that you remember. I just said to people that this goes to a whole different level after they
man. Here, I'll take a picture. I'll send it to you right now. This just popped off right now. Come on. Right.
See, audience, this is how you get deep into these investigations.
Yeah, that's
gotta have that evidence.
That's great. See, look, that just happened right there.
Oh, you're being watched. Okay,
right there. All of them caught me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for it. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Roderick Martin. This is Fade to Black on the UNX and Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Roderick when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse. Now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit JasonMartell.com. That's JasonMartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roderick Martin. Tomorrow night, Maureen St. Germain is with us. Wednesday night, Richard Dolan. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And now, Roderick, how do you, I want to talk about MUFON for a second. How do you approach your investigations? And the state of Texas has just about as many UFO sightings as anywhere else in the country. You've got your fair share. So how do you approach your investigations? And the specific cases we'll talk about in a second, but how do you approach it?
Well, the first thing, when a report or case, is assigned to us, depending on the case code, we have 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours to open a case and make contact, with the witness, because as everyone know, if it's something recent, the memory begins to fade to black over time, right? Mm-hmm. I did good. I just infused that.
Yeah, that was nice.
And, yeah. And so, and so at this point, you're going to contact the witness, but then you're going to check, the evidence that's been submitted, whether it's a video, whether it's a photo, wherever the incident happened, as the witness will enter into the CMS as much data as possible. And so, so you want to start, a starting point is going to be analyzing the evidence first. That's what I do. Some other investigators can probably go through, because the first thing I'm going to do is analyze this photo or video. I'm going to check the metadata, because a lot of people who turns in these things don't know that we can sit here and look into this photo that you sent me, that you took yesterday, that you pulled it off Facebook, 6 months ago, or this thing has metadata 3 years ago. It's not current, and now ultimately we do not tell the witness, hey, you gave us some fake photos. We just noted in the file so all the other investigators sees it, right? Because all of this stuff is done internally. But once, if we got to go, the photo is authentic, and then it's time to kind of start checking, your weather, underground weather, because that goes back to what you asked me earlier when you said, Roderick, how far was it? How far up was it? Because in any term, if someone says, hey, this thing was 30,000, feet up or 100,000 feet up in the sky, then I need to start, and you saw this, and I'm going to cleverly enter in, do you wear glasses? Do you, is it microscope? What's on this? How could you have seen this? Or you told me you saw it at 9:30 and you saw it clear as a bell, and I pull up the weather and I see it was cloudy. And we can look up satellites anywhere from back history. We can look up weather reports, the day, weather direction, wind speeds. And so I can turn around and say, okay, wait a minute. They couldn't have solved this because it was a cloudy day, But then again, if it passes through, it's a go. So we're moving further along in this thing. And then the witness is the last person that I will contact. And there's other proprietary things that we check into. But I think at the end of the day, you as an investigator, your curiosity can go as far as they go. Now, I've done enough of these that some cases and some photos resemble things that you've seen before, especially when it comes down to these Chinese lanterns. And there's just a specific marking of the phones that they do with this little red streak that I don't know why, but it just does. That instantly I can look at the photo. That's a Chinese lantern, because people mistake those drones. Now that drones can be flown at night, different places, and you never know if somebody tampered with these things and put a couple of lights on them or don't, it's just so many variables. But at the end of the day, Jimmy, you turn around and you talk to the witness, and this is where the fun parts start, because now you're getting somebody's perspective. You're getting their emotions and how they felt about it, because you need to get all of this. And then you have to cleverly, at some point, ask them the question, have you been drinking? Or are you smoking? Or are you? And some people will say, yeah, Roderick, I was drinking. And I write it down in a file, they was drinking, but I don't stop there, because I may say, hey, what were you drinking? And now depending on whether it's a wine cooler versus some vodka, it's in this is going to taint my decision on what's really happening to this blur now that they saw. Right. And if it goes even deeper, people will tend to tell you I was only drinking a little bit. This happens all the time. And I have to then, in a rightfully way, without ticking the witness off and say, well, what's a little bit? And you find out it's a keg to them, because they usually drink 3 kegs. I'm just using this in humor, dialogue. But the whole point is that you have to then, because if the witness is not credible, all that you saw is done went out the window. I don't give a darn what the photo looks like. It could be E.T. himself. But if you get down to the point this witness is off-centered, you gotta start going, wait a minute, because how did this come about? What's coming about? And now, don't get me wrong. If you get some authentic stuff and you go and you backtrack and you get the 911 officer, or you call and get some stuff from the paper, or something was published and it was more, because we're going to check and see if there's more reportings in that area. Or I'm gonna go through, if it's real, prominent, I'm gonna go through outside sources just to kind of see if there's other people who did not call MUFON, right? So you're gonna go to it, be as thorough as you can before you render your decision. And so, not all things, people ask me all the time, are UFOs real? And my question or my answer to that, Jimmy, I tell them, anything flying around that we don't know what it is a UFO. And not all UFOs are driven by aliens. However, aliens use UFOs to get around.
Right. What kind of sightings are happening more in Texas these days?
I think not just Texas, but we tend to see more tic-tac type things. And I think that's kind of a great thing, because when I go back when I was 12 years old, and I kind of described this thing as a saucer type, and now we see more tic-tac types. And you think about that, you think about anything else. I'm not driving a car that I drove in 1980 either. right? Technology. So why wouldn't they technology improve? They're not driving around in flying saucers no more that they drove, in Roswell area. So we don't get flying saucer sightings. We get different anomalies now, TikToks and orbs. And so they was already advanced further than us anyway. So why wouldn't they have now advanced in their technology? So orbs, lights, and then you're going to get your cylinder type, UFO reportings.
I haven't seen, at least I don't think so. I haven't seen the cigar cylinder yet. I've seen strange stuff, but I haven't seen, I've always tried to figure that out in my mind's eye, what that would be and how it would be flying. Through the sky, what it would look like. I haven't had that sighting yet.
Well, there was a case not long ago on MUFON that came through. Our state director reopened it or got it through the pipeline, and it was happening here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And it was a cylinder type, and when you get a real serious case like that, in the photographs, the evidence, we'll tend to, as a collective group, he'll get all the investigators in on this one thing, because and just so happened it was a cylinder tic-tac type thing here in the Fort Worth area, and it was maybe a couple of months ago. We even had a landing in McKinney, Dallas area, actual UFO landing about a couple of years back, I think, and it was in one of the magazines that we had. But at the end of the day, it's the technology that they're using that's changing, and we don't know 10 years from now what these things are going to look like. And I think that's what has baffled a lot of people, Jimmy, now in this, because we tend to think about flying saucers, and now we're seeing these tic-tacs and orbs. And of course, now we got these things moving around with no propulsion and, all of these different anomalies, and we just can't really explain. But I just tell people, just think about it. They are advancing just as much as we are, and eventually they're going to use different things to observe this world of ours.
This cylinder sighting in Dallas Fort Worth, was there a photograph to go along with this?
Yeah, we have a photograph, and there was some video. It's still under investigation now. So once we have those things, we really don't give out. We can't, by MUFON standards, give out all the details of that. But when the case is closed, I can actually do a video and some things on it. I plan on it. But there was a video. A guy taking some video. So it wasn't a photo. It was actually videos of this thing zipping through the sky.
Now, and what was in the video?
Basically, it was a guy with his cell phone, but this was he didn't zoom at optical zoom like most people do, what contributes to the blurriness, why we always see these blurry photos. People want to know. It's because most people zoom that cell phone in, which is not designed to be looking at something, thousands of feet in the sky. And so then when we try to blow it up, it's even more pixelated. Just so happens he didn't do this because it was moving as quick. And so we got a real good view of it when we zoomed in on it, because it wasn't already pre-zoomed. And it was just kind of a silver, metallic looking, they call it tic-tac now, but it was more of a spear type, shaped object.
And it was silver?
I would say silver whitish, blue white, because you can kind of see it kind of has this camouflage to the sky a little bit. So it could have been sun hitting it, but it was definitely clear enough that would say, okay, maybe this is silver whitish or whatever moving through.
Now, what was your reaction versus the eyewitness testimony? But now you're looking at a video to corroborate what the witness saw. What went through your mind when you saw the video?
Well, for me, because the area that was in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because it's being in the sky, we're near airports, and this is the most notorious places that things are not supposed to fly around. And you can't even fly a drone in some of these areas because they're just already coded not to go up in the air
right
through the GPS coordinates. So now I knew whatever this was flying without restrictions, right? And to look at it and how it was just zipping across and within the photo, there was no wings on this thing when there was no Now I couldn't see if there was windows or nothing like that, but it was just kind of moving through effortlessly, and it just makes you wonder why we're so. When I get into my shows, or why the big secret, why is it a big secret of these things? But at the end of the day, this was a clear cut of an unidentified flying object that was pretty big in size, probably 50, 60 feet meters. And so this is not a drone. This is not something, and this thing was just, and he got probably a good 10, 15 seconds of this thing, moving across the sky pretty quick.
And that was my question. How fast was it moving?
I didn't get the determination to say, okay, this is, because it's virtually, I don't, we can all estimate, but I have not, say, okay, this thing was moving hundreds of miles an hour. There's no way. But you can see it that this is not, because of the fact there's no wings, there's no other components, and there's no propulsion, and you're not seeing, nothing behind this thing. This is anti-gravity, whatever it is, and it's moving pretty swift. It was just darting across, so it just kind of went,
Now, what about we have Tic Tacs?
Mm-hmm.
And
that'll be the same thing as a spear and cylinder. So,
well, if we, we talk about Tic Tacs today, almost like this is a new thing and it's a modern phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
But Tic Tacs have been around for as long as we've been seeing UFOs, right?
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier. The technology. We're seeing more Tic Tacs, but everybody has a description of how these UFOs look. And I encourage all of the audience, if you start wanting to do some research, go back and look at, when these occurrences happen. When you see the older magazines, everybody saw flying saucers. Then Tic Tacs or those type of things start coming into play, a little later on after that. So they've been around, but they're more prominent now, as though it's a more common use vehicle, for whatever the extraterrestrials or whoever's using them use. Of course, this is what the Navy is getting at. This is, some of the videos that they've shown, but it's definitely the items that has been shown that are transmedium, that's going from the space, the air into the water. For some reason, these Tic Tacs are really good at splashing right on in and keep going, so.
And how important is MUFON, not only for collecting data, but for disclosure and moving this forward?
I think, MUFON is, if you start thinking of today's society, you use the word crowdsourcing these days, right? And people use that crowdsourcing as a great way to start a business. And it's just another way of getting more people involved into something that you're believing in, and ultimately you can get something off the ground. So I look at MUFON as a great crowdsource of enthusiastic people, some skeptics, that comes together and can able to really truly expand the investigation side, because not everything out there, as I said before, is a UFO. So you got to sift through this stuff. You have to. And in order to find that needle in the haystack, because like I said, I may do 5, 6 cases and maybe one could be unidentified, right? And some people can go 30 cases and not. So MUFON, when you think about, but the most fascinating part of the MUFON is that the caliber of people that's part of this organization. I mean, you have CIA people, you got ex-military, you got air traffic control people, pilots, all the way down to, everyday people like myself who says, I'm intrigued, but it's a level playing field when I say this. And when I say playing field is that they give all of us the same resources to become investigators. And then you start learning little tricks of the trade over time and as you communicate with other people. But I think MUFON is really important. The government tend to have thought they were, they've always been trying to get into their databases, right? The rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And because they have one of the largest databases of anomalies out there. And without MUFON and several other these reporting organizations, we as the public will be in the dark even worse, because MUFON, through the shows, through access, now the person who's listening right now, if they have the time and wherewithal, they want to become a member of MUFON, they get access to the same cases. Now I get the back end stuff that they can't see, but they get access to our database and they can see these things. And I used to do a show on Clubhouse where I have the people come on stage and I said, where you live? And they would tell me where they live. And by state, or I can do city, and I can tell them how many UFO sightings was in their town this week. And these people be blown away. What? I mean, yeah, you have about 3 or 4. And, without giving out specific details. And people will be surprised of how many reportings are flying over their homes every day.
How important is it if you have seen something, how important is it not to keep it to yourself, right? To jump on a computer, get a hold of MUFON, and report the case. How important is that?
Well, let's put this in 2 categories of importance. Number one, we need the data as people, as a community, because again, there's things that's happening, and the government is not going to tell us these things. I call them the big secret keepers, right? They're not going to tell us these things. On the other flip side of that, for your own mental health, you got to say something about these things, because I've found more people that I've interviewed, over 400, that have kept these anomalies within themselves. Now, on my shows, I've created that environment, and even like this Wednesday, we're going to do an experiencer segment where people can share their experiences. And the word is that I've created a safe place, because you will hear some of the story. You will hear grown men cry, men of valor that's protectors of their families. But when they got to tell this story about they've seen something and they never done it before, and they've been holding it all these years, it's just an effect that's incredible. So I think anyone who's listening, if you've seen anything, get it out, get it off yourself, because you need to understand what you saw wasn't an anomaly. And you'll be really shocked to find that someone else saw the same thing in the same area, because we can pull that up, and you weren't the only one. And sometimes I give that to people when I hear them, when I interview them, and they're really, because I'll ask them, did you tell anyone else like you did? Did you tell you? No, I've never told my wife. Now, they've been married 15 years. They share every secret except this one, and so I think it's important that people get it off their chest, report these things, not just for the clinical data that we need, but again, your mental health, to know that you're not alone. You didn't see something that's not being verified, and you're not crazy, and nobody's going to think you crazy. And just so happens somebody else saw it too.
How often does it happen where you look into a case and you jump in to your file system and you see that 3, 4, 5 reports happened at the same time about the same object? And I would guess that is very important, but how often does it happen?
Often enough. I think that
really,
yeah. And in fact, I can tie this into why the government now has this new UFO office, right? And it goes with the same thing you're asking to line up. And I'll tell us in a quick story bite here. Just as much as when somebody reports something to MUFON, we go in and we're going to check. We're going to automatically see if there's any other cases. Or sometimes you can see somebody reported something that they took a picture, and you can find another case 3 years ago, and the picture is identical, but they are true pictures of each date. So whatever this is still flying around. But here's the case to tie in what you just said. So think about why we are where we are with the government. Same coincidence of situations. So you got the East Coast where something comes out of the water, which we know 93% of our data, or most of them, UFOs are coming from water. Okay. And the Coast Guard sees it, the Navy sees this object, and they put their own file on it. So this thing goes up in the sky. The Navy's got planes, but we know these things move 5 times the speed of light. So now it's going across, is now over Texas, and the Air Force has picked this up. And they got their file on the same object, but they're not communicating, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, this thing goes on another side. Then the Army, the Navy, you got the Air Force, you got all these people, and then, okay, let's, hey, hypothetically it lands somewhere and it ducks. Now you got the Army, the CIA. Where I'm going with this is our government was so compartmentalized that no one reported, there was no central database. MUFON changed all that. See, because we have a central database that we can correlate that all this is happening in time. And our government just decided to say we're going to now make one office, because although each office has their own report, they could have been talking about the same object. It's clearly it can go from one end to the coast to the next coast in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't they all seen the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
But yet every individual office have their own report. So MUFON, I think our innovation of that was perfect, because we can, and have a database, we can track that, you know.
Do you ever call up like Peter Davenport to check his reporting versus your file system to see if there are multiple reports of the same object?
I've never called him to talk about that, but I have talked to Peter on several occasions personally, yes, about not on his database and who his successor is, and hey, I would love to, get to know and become a student to what you do, because that's how I am. I'm learning from people. Like I grilled you this weekend. I knew I had one moment, like Eminem said, one opportunity to get everything I ever wanted, and I'm talking to Jimmy Church, and I'm not going to not ask these questions, right? Out of curiosity. So I've talked to Peter Davenport on several occasions, and that guy has a wealth of knowledge, and he has a database that's incredible. And my dream someday is to start my own database collection, not to compete with MUFON, so to speak, but just a place where somebody is comfortable, and hopefully, especially in our community, we'll get with that later, in the show, but to get a place where people are comfortable reporting these sightings.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roderick Martin is with us. What a great conversation. I expected this. And don't worry, Roderick is going to be here for overtime. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roderick Martin is with us. And this is where I'm going to start to talk about the obvious, Roderick. And I just saw your text. We'll get to that, okay? We'll save that for overtime. A great subject, by the way. And is this. So you brought up the community that you grew up in, and where you just, you're not going to walk around and talk about UFOs. And I guess I get that. And here's the deal. You're black. So when you show up for an investigation and somebody meets you, are they surprised by that? Number one. Number two, is this something that you have to battle? Is it a concern, or do you not give a crap? And probably the third part of this is because of the culture that you brought up earlier. Is that a reason why we don't have more of the black community at conferences or talking about their contact? Because ET is colorblind, right? They don't care. So are all of these your concerns?
Yes, and I have experienced a lot when it comes down to this. And I think that you probably have just opened up and I'm not saying it's a serious can of worms, but it is a can with worms in it, and it can be serious. So, one of the things that I look into will start with my community. I grew up in yes, and to answer to the audience, I'm black, and I've been black for quite some time. Right. I got it down pat. I got it down. Half 100 years for sure, right? So I got it down. I got this thing down, and so the experience is real. But at the end of the day, in that neighborhood, you're not talking about this thing. You're just not going to. Now, when I gotten older, and now that I'm an investigator, now that I host a show, now that I understand a little more psychology of this, now that I go deeper into curiosity, deeper into cultural perspectives, I now understand why. And I can now understand why my wife had problems with this subject. And the forgiveness is there. She wasn't trying to hold me back from being successful or my dream. This was a touchy subject religious-wise, because in the doctrine of Christianity and some of these books, you cannot, this is not something we're going to be talking. It's taboo. And from where she probably experienced this, it just wasn't something that was not going to go against the story. Because I grew up in a house that I was told that there's a man who could walk across water. He can feed 5,000 with, a loaf of bread. He can raise the dead. He's coming back. But I can't believe that there's something flying around and we're not alone in the universe. You get what I'm saying? And so
I do.
Yeah. So that became a real true problem as I grew in more knowledge growing up. Because you got to still believe in something. And you can't go against what mom told you, because you're not old enough to go in the room and tell her, what the heck is this you just talking about? Look at this. And so we start there. So that's the starting point before we get into the other factors that you mentioned. But it's going to start with everybody's upbringing, because even when on Clubhouse, if I never took the time to start studying cultural lenses in this, and where I'm going from this with the audience is that, for example, and I'll give a life example. Well, let me give you a real example. In Clubhouse, you can bring people on stage to engage in a conversation, and I could be talking about extraterrestrials or whatever. You'll get somebody who'll get up there who is ticked off. I'll make sure the words I can use here. Can we use some bad words? Like no words. No. All right. So they're ticked off. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they are upset and they're saying to you as best as they can that ETs are demons. They're this, and this. The other person gets up there and starts talking about they're angels. So imagine the war of conversations. And they both haven't realized we're talking about the same thing. We're actually going up above this and saying there's something higher than your religion and my religion. But most people on Clubhouse will shut them off, kick them on the floor, tell them they're crazy. I break the barrier because I got to get both of them to understand that this person's not going against you. This person was raised all their lives that this is a demon. And this person was raised that this is a angel. And these two people are not arguing at each other. They're arguing from their belief system, from their lenses, their cultural lenses, how they see the phenomenon. And we get that all the time. So I can just about pinpoint whoever gets up there, however they describe their experience, I almost can predict their religious background. And that allows me to communicate effectively, get the curiosity going, and to do that. So now let's move on into being Black in this community, or really, I have a personalized license plate on my car. I showed you that, right? And I'll never forget the story of going into, maybe we give them a plug, Chick-fil-A, because they got good customer service, so we can go and give them a plug. But I'm sorry. You look like you squid. You're like, nah, don't do that, dude. Nah, they got to pay for this crap. Okay. I didn't say it. Don't go to that place, but the place with the chicken. They have chicken. And I drive up in the drive-thru, and there was this car behind me, and it stopped. So quite naturally, I'm looking back because they done put a gap in the line at this place. It has lines. You got to keep it moving. And this person done put gaps in it. And I'm like, this got to be serious. She gets out of the car. Now she is white, and she walks up and has that look of what we all hear about the Karen thing, right? I'm like, this is not going to be happening. And so I let down the window because I'm at the speaker because I'm about to order, but she gets in between me and the order, and now we got a problem because I want to order my food. I'm hungry. And she looks at me and she says, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, what the hell did I do? I don't even know you. She said, "Is that serious on your license plate?" And I said, "Yeah." And she gives me this look because she's already shocked when I wrote down these tinted windows and I'm Black because she did not expect that, right? So the last thing she could say, are you serious? Because now this black man is getting ready to make a joke, a mockery of what's on his plates. And she just looked at me, and I looked at her, and I had to give her my credentials. I said, no, ma'am, I'm a UFO investigator. I'm a believer. I had to start going down the list because I thought this was my moment. This is be it. You know, she is ticked off. And then she looks at me and she says, I have an experience. Call me. Here's my number. She never answered the phone, though, because she already had the number written out. So she had to get out of it gracefully, right? But that's not the first time. I get people all the time, you're a UFO investigator, and it's almost like it's a joke. Now, that's on the other side of the fence. But when I'm in my community, it's always is, are they real? Are you serious? Oh, man, I've been having this feeling. So it's almost that in our community, there's a presence of the extraterrestrial existence. Nobody is talking about it because maybe there's not a place, or maybe they don't feel comfortable, or maybe, and then you got to think back. We ain't talking about this in the 60s and 50s, because you're talking about injury to insult. Ain't no black person is going to walk into the police office back then when we could get lynched or something and say, oh, by the way, I saw a UFO. So you're not going to hear these things. You're not going to. It's not talked about in our community from the past, definitely from the future.
My good friend Hilton J. Palm, who has worked with this show and worked with me all the way back when we were in school together, born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, and very proud black man. Love this guy to death too. I mean, seriously. But I asked him point blank. I said, so, what's the deal with UFOs and South Central? He goes, they don't exist. I go, what do you mean? A flying saucer could land in South Central and nobody would talk about it. Nobody would admit it. And that's just the way it is. And he said, there's a lot of things that we won't talk about, ghost and things. But when it comes to UFOs, no, not in this community. And it wouldn't matter if I saw something or not. I wouldn't talk about it, and neither would anybody else. And it blew my mind. I was a little taken aback by it. But then you kind of look at the complaints about the UFO community, lack of women, it's a white man's club. Not enough of the younger generation, and that there is only one lens that looks at this phenomenon. And I don't see it that way anymore. It may have been that way in years past, more that way, I should say, in years past. But you go to conferences today, Roderick, and you've got every nationality, you've got every age represented. And I would say that certainly between men and women, I'm going to say it's 50-50. Maybe even more women are at UFO conferences than men. And maybe it's changing. Do you feel the same way?
No, I don't. I just don't. And maybe those men are bringing their women with them. You get what I'm saying? There's an anomaly here. In any cases, you're going to always find that there's going to be a speckle of any diversity anywhere, but that don't mean a majority or a minority or a equal number when it comes down to this. And it's clearly in our community when it comes down to the ufology, because one of the things that one of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome, especially on Clubhouse, because I was the first thing that happened when Clubhouse said, okay, we're going to pick this guy, they put out on the internet, he's one of the first black UFO investigators, and I'm not. And I had to go back and get this corrected, but it caused a ripple through the community. Oh, they chose him because he was black and not because I knew anything or whatever. Ooh, now, most people didn't understand when you are hosting, I'm not flexing my muscle of knowledge. I'm an interviewer. I got to ask questions. I got to work for my audience. I got to get the content for them. And there was this rumor, oh, he doesn't know this, he doesn't know that, and blah, blah, blah. And because I'm black, number one, and, and they go with, he ain't been around this long enough. I mean, and because you can go into these rooms, I'm listening to them because I have a fake account. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm busted now. But, you know, we call them burners. You go into this room, you can listen to the conversations. And one of the challenge is that what I realized, Jimmy, was that, you know, these same folks, you know, when they start telling you how long they've been around ufology and how long they've been knowing, if you listen close enough, they can say they've been around this thing for 30 years, Jimmy, but really they've been talking about the same thing for 30 years.
Right.
And that makes them an expert. And when they asked me about the I'm making this up, y'all, but they asked me about the Sandy Sadansky incident that happened in Blue Moon, Oregon, and I don't know it. I don't know nothing, right? I'm like, man, who knows every darn thing? But I can tell you what, I can hold my own. We can do that. But that's not my job. My job is to give my audience some information and to work for them who I'm interviewing. And so it took me a while to overcome that, where people begin to realize this guy is okay. He's doing what he does. But the back channels of all of that in Clubhouse, it was bad, and you would hear it, and I knew where it was coming from. I knew it was the angle. Number one, because I started growing the biggest club there. I don't do what everybody else do. People will open up rooms. I did a show, and I would make it clear this is a show, and I'm the host of this thing. And so now I'm out front. You know, I'm in a space that most people normally don't see or hear, you know, and so the race was on. But at the end of the day, you know, as you become the entertainment of this thing, because you got to provide the curiosity and for people to take the seriousness off this thing, right? So now, how did I overcome the integration into the club? I call it. I grew a beard. So I grew a beard. I really did. I have a long white beard now. I have a silver beard, and I'm in that. And so, okay, I know everybody's probably saying this dude crazy, but no, I'm funny. I'm really funny, y'all. But at the end of the day, I grew a beard. I actually did, but not so much for the introduction or the introductory to it. But you just all of us begin to look alike. We all are in this. We in this together. And hopefully at some point we will get more women. We will get more men. But I do hope that we do get more African American people in this, because I think there's a whole nother sector. I think there's a whole nother culture of experiences from a whole different perspective. That's that's great, but how do we do it? How do we bring them in? You know, the community? The community has to. It's like network marketing. I used to be a master distributor. I've done that, you know, all my life. And you can start a cluster within the network marketing company. And if it's for the first hundreds and hundreds of people, they're all going to be Hispanics until that one Hispanic person has a black friend. And then they invite, and it breaks the color barrier, because then blacks know other blacks. And so same thing here. It has to happen to where we all who know each other share and bring people to the table with this experience, and you break the barrier. Now, I'm doing a great job. My audience on Clubhouse was predominantly white. It's now starting to mix royally. And I get it every time I do a show. Man, I didn't know you was here. I didn't know somebody in our community was talking about this. I'm like, well, what do I need to do to get out there? Now, maybe the mission, it's not so much a mission for me. It's not just a destiny. It's my purpose. And maybe that's why I'm already, you know, segment to do 7 TV shows, and not one is aired yet. And so hopefully by that time when they start to air, people will say, okay, this guy's out here. And then I can then introduce other people who are in the industry who wants to, you know, become part of the collective. And it don't have to be a black and white thing. But you already doing it. You got me here. I'm here talking to Jimmy Church. You could have had anybody you wanted today. You got Roderick Martin here. And we have a relationship. And so it started already. And, you know, I don't know if you can want to get any one of them guitars, but play a note for yourself, brother. You brought it in.
Well, yes.
Can you play? Can you really play, though? Maybe I just called you out.
Smoke and mirrors, Roderick. Smoke and mirrors. I don't know why the issue has become an issue, right? And maybe it's because of who I am and where I'm sitting from, and I don't see male, female. I don't see white, black. I don't see the world that way. I may be unique, but this is when I talked to Barry Littleton about this, and I've talked to Billy Carson about this too as well, where they go, no, you're wrong. It is an issue. And I wish that more from our community would be speaking up, because they're having the same experiences that we all are. Mm-hmm. So the question is, what do we do about it?
Well, the true answer is not only going to be able to listen to these things. Now, speaking of Barry, I reached out to him, and if he's listening, Barry, I haven't heard back from you. What a plug, ain't it? But the whole thing is, of course, Billy and I talk consistently, Billy himself have done a great job of integrating himself out there and with forbidden knowledge and what he does. Now, when we get down to this cuckoo subject of UFOs, it's going to take courage, number one, for someone who says, I want to get into the game. I want to get out here and don't mind talking about it, because, again, you're going to face some ridicule. I did it, and it was one of the things that the reason I didn't do it in the past. Now, if you go back, Shaquille O'Neal recently had a video several months ago where he talked about he saw a UFO, and he said that he saw this thing and flew right in front of him, and he never talked about it because he didn't, with his exact words, I didn't want nobody to think I'm crazy. Now, he's $400 million. You can say what you want now. But back then, he wasn't going to ruin his career. So I think if more black people, especially on the celebrity side, come forward, it's just like I'm not comparing, I better not even say that, but just like any other movements these days, if people come forward and more people are comfortable, feel like sharing it, because you got to remember there's a lot of things that go down with these experiences. When you listen to Whitley Strieber's story and what happened to him, you ain't getting a lot of people who's going to come black saying, okay, I was raped or something, right? I'm not, by an extraterrestrial. That's just not going down the pipeline. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to get people who get to a point where they feel that their story has a purpose, and it's time for people to talk. And that is exactly what my agenda is to get out here and to be able to bridge the gap. And you say, what do we do? People like yourself is giving me some, time on your show. You have a huge audience. You're trusted. See, because it's going to go with that. It's got to start with trust first. Mm-hmm. People trust what comes out of Jimmy Church's mouth. And when Jimmy Church said Roderick is a good guy, then that puts it over. And then hopefully the people that's listening could have friends who may not be comfortable talking to Jimmy Church and say, you know what, there is a guy, call him up, go to whythebigsecret.com, fill out that little guest thing, whatever, get that information too. And and then the more people I can interview, put their face on YouTube if they're happy with that, all it will do a trickle down effect that more people will say, we got to come forward, but we got to push the agenda. So think about all the disclosure conferences and everything else. There's not too many people of color there, and hopefully next couple of years, I talk, Billy's like, hey man, you're going to be with the next one. And then you like, hey man, we're going to do these things. And so those will get people, just like anything else, we can get out front and know that we exist. And so, you got a lot of people out there that is black that do know this stuff. But maybe the marketing efforts of themselves or how they want to introduce themselves to the industry is not there. But I'm happy to keep a door open behind me that is opening and make the introductions, because I think it's not just me opening up a door, but I think leaving it open for others is the best way to do it.
Do you think that now that the media is covering this on all fronts, it's there, and I'm not talking about television, I'm talking about news reporting, is covering the subject, that it becomes a safer space for the Black community to step out, as well as anybody to speak up about their own experiences?
Well, if you start doing audience demographics like I have with the people I work with, and we start looking at the age group, so we'll go back to if they're millennials or Gen Zs, we want to call them, they don't trust the media anyway. They're not. Right, so that's not going to be a place to introduce ourselves to them. It's going to have to be on these social media profiles, shows or places that they go to watch, TikTok. So I'm getting ready to start doing a few TikToks. One thing I did was funny last week. Another one, I'm like, nah, I really don't want to do a joke about it. But you got to talk fast. Okay.
Aren't you too old for TikTok?
You know what?
I've been thinking about doing it too, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be the
old though, dude. If you got on TikTok with a guitar and you start rattling off like that real Kiss old stuff, or Enemies from, like the Who, my favorite song, you will be on TikTok. You'll be a hit because they'll be like, that dude's an alien. Where did he come from?
I just don't want to be the old guy in the room. I just don't want to be that guy.
Tell it to some of them guys that be dancing on TikTok that looks all foolish. But wait a minute. But there are some people there, Jimmy, that are themselves, and you can do that. So I did do a video, and I made a joke like, okay, Roderick, with this phone ring, and I'm an investigator, and then I did one serious, and then I looked at the analytics, right? Because I was like, dang dog, I got 5,000 views. I'm on it. TikTok is me. Then I looked at the analytics. They 13-year-old or 50. I was like, what the heck? 70% of these people is 13 years old. What the heck? I'm like, nah, I can't do it. But then there was a marketing person said, Roderick, those 13-year-old people, got their moms and dads, credit cards, and so they can subscribe and listen and grow, and you can grow them. And 10 years from now, they're buying, they're supporting you, and they like what you do. And I'm like, Scooby-Doo again. Okay.
Right. Well, I was asked a couple of months ago to do a series of TikTok videos. I shot 12 and sent them off. Right.
You had fun doing them though, didn't you?
Well, anyway, I did not go and follow up with any of it. I didn't want to see it. And no. And so I'm still a mystery.
But this is radio. Paint the picture. Did you have your shirt off, or you got to give us a mental theater of what this thing was that you shot.
Nope. Not gonna do it. But I am gonna take a break because we're gonna come back. I want to talk about Anjali. So you stay right there. This is Fade to Black. We're going into overtime with Roderick Martin. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the UNX and Game Changer Networks. Ray Hobbs. This is Fade to Black. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Roderick Martin is with us. His show is Why the Big Secret. The links to everything are over on our website and throughout social media. And go and check Roderick out. And also, Roderick, so you do Clubhouse every Wednesday, right?
Yep. That's Wednesday weekly with 2 E's, everybody. Not W-E-A-K.
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Anjali. And I found Anjali from you, and very, very early on. And so I'm going to ask you, we'll talk more about Anjali in a second. How did you find Anjali? How did that happen?
Well, I was on Clubhouse, of course, doing the clubs. There was a gentleman named Nick. I won't leave his last name out for purposes. Nick was a former Navy intelligence officer, but he also was an asset to the show. So he would be a researcher and different things. And he said, there's a lady that has an incredible story that I think she just posted some at that time on Reddit in one of the groups. And he had reached out to her to get with me to talk about her story. And then ultimately, Anjali and I made contact and truly develop a true friendship.
And okay. It's a very strange. It's a strange situation in that after I did a little research into her, and I found out about her through you, and then everything else took off after that, and so straight away, I had her on Fade to Black, and there was a lot of things that were happening and a lot of chatter going around the UFO community about her. And then she did her thing in Washington, D.C., that little live, I think it was YouTube. So I watched that. I think a couple of days later, we had her on Fade to Black, and I just wanted to hear her story from her, from beginning to end, and just lay it out for the historical record. And get it down, because I wanted to know more. There were so many different things I just needed to hear it from her exactly what went down from beginning to end. And then after that, and here's the deal, Roderick. I told her on the show directly that you cannot not have this event happen. You're saying this is going to go down in 2021 before the year is out, and it's absolutely 100% going to happen. It has to happen. You don't get another chance at this. And that was always my point. Here we are now at the first week of March, where it appears that everything has completely unraveled. Of course, the big explosion, the big disclosure didn't happen in 2021. What's your take on everything now?
Well, I think for starters, let me bridge the gap from then to now. Is that fair enough?
Sure.
And I think in fairness for her, again, it'll be great to do this. So, Anjali, when I first talked with her on the phone, before, I made the first appearance on my YouTube channel live Clubhouse with her when we broke the initial story, after she posted the Reddit post a little bit, but then we end up really, and one of the things in the beginning, she was not really wanting to go public enough to really people to really know, she just wanted to kind of put the message out there. And we had a long, thorough conversation for weeks. And I'm like, this community is relentless. This is not a place to, and I was not for her to truly really reveal a lot of things in first and foremost, because at this point, again, you just got this part, there's a part of the community that is just will eat you alive when it comes down, because it's not the fact that they're not believers. They're thirsty. They want answers themselves so much that they're willing to just wreck over people to get it, right? And so Anjali, so again, let me just start here. So when we first, ventured down, we talked about a plan. We actually had an action plan of how we wanted to bring this out, and then I told her, I said, well, you cannot do it anonymously, because then that just stir up too much trouble. And so she thought about it, and she finally came back and had the courage. I'm going to show my face. I'm going to let people know I'm going to do this. And so that's when we first did the first live stream, because we did a YouTube where you heard her talking. And then we went and said, let's go ahead and go live so people can see me talking to you. One of the things, Jimmy, that stands out the most to this whole ordeal that I've stayed silent, because I was supposed to go to the event. I was supposed to be the point person to put it together. At the time, I just could not, number one, financially get the flights to go to, to be down at the press conference. Because she asked me, she said, would you do the honor of doing it? And I was, hey, let's do this thing, right? But I just couldn't do it. And so some other people, took into place. But one of the biggest things that I want to clear out here, and I think in her defense and just for the facts and everything else, to kill some of these things. I watched one of your shows, Jimmy, that you had when you interviewed her, and there was a guy, I don't get his name, but he was grilling, talking about how he found Wayne and he found the property. I don't know if you remember that show, right? And he was going in for the kill. And Anjali was really being adamant, prove it, show me, tell me. And she did everything but tell him Wayne was made up. That name, Wayne, was made up on my desk. That was here. The story was here to create that so that she did not release exactly who that person was, so that people don't do what he did. Say he tracked them down, found the business, and she still uses the name fictitiously. But those two people were not real people. And I have my desk. She told me who they are. I have all of her passport pictures. I got all her military documents and all of these things. And I just watched this thing evolve. Now, don't get me wrong. If you make the big promise that was made of we're going to do this excursion, I think that was the tipping point of all of it. And that would be some things that I would just say that, I wish, and she's already was dealing with, just personal issues of health. And I think it was just too much stress. And I love her to death. And I wish she just wouldn't have put the weight of the world on her back like that. And I wish I could have done more too, to keep it all for her back, because I really wanted to. But then once, big people like Jimmy and all these people get to the story, I'm out. It's now for the world to hear. And I'm glad, because you guys covered her well. But at the end of the day, I think people should know that if you get down to that detail I think was very huge to see how it spawned into I found Wayne. And I laugh every time. How? How did you find it? And if you did, you are great, that person. So,
yeah. What about the specifics here? You're a MUFON investigator. You're a field investigator. This is what you do. So when you look at the situation with Anjali and her story, there are some things here logistically that have to match up. One, that there's a tunnel in a mountain in the Mojave Desert where I live that goes to an underground ET base, house, whatever you want to call it. They're living there. That has to exist. Do you believe that tunnel and that base exist in a mountain on somebody's property?
Well, let me give you two perspectives here. One is, and it's almost done, I actually have a book that I was publishing, and the title of it is I Believe You Believe. And I learned this through experience, Jimmy, through all of the 400 interviews. And what happens is most people want us to, or investigators or anyone they turn to tell their story, to believe. And what I've learned is to look at a perspective, say, I believe you believe. So, for example, Jimmy, if you said, Roderick, behind that guitar, this one right here is an alien. Now, can you see it, Roderick? Can you see it? And I'm looking as hard as I am right now. I don't see it, but I believe you believe. And that's enough for me to follow you. You get what I'm saying? I believe you believe that there's something back there, Jimmy. Let's go, because I got your back. I don't have to, because I'm not going to lie and say, okay, I believe that there is somebody in those caves or whatever she said, but I'm not saying that, oh, no, she's crazy. But I believe whatever her experience is so deep enough and she's passionate about it, I believe she believed it's there, and it's enough for me to get her back, and I'm going to go with you. And that's how we got to approach this today when you look at these stories. So it's not so much of me standing fat, because I didn't have her experience. I cannot validate her experience. and we can't validate anybody's experience. And I've learned that enough interviews and talking to people where I've created that trust barrier where I'm going to give you the support because I believe you believe. So I believe she believed that she had that experience. They were there. She knew where because you got to believe she know where it is to go with her, right? And so all of these things is where we all went. And I think for people to get so disappointed in that it didn't happen, it's because they weren't true believers and they just wanted another thing to either, justify or I told you so, instead of saying she has a unique experience. She's been contacted. We know it happens. We know people are contacted all the time. We got some great people telling their stories, but I think the pressure, I think that, because this is the weight of the world. I knew when she came out and said, I'm going to go public with this. I'm going to go to the Capitol. I'm going to do all the place she went, all of this stuff. That takes more courage than the world, because at this point, you only have two sides that this coin going to fall on. Heads, crazy, tail, not. You get what I'm saying? You can't stop it. When it stops spinning, it's falling on one side or the other. And I think for some people, it fell on the middle. And then others, it fell on the other side of the fence. But at the end of the day, if she calls me again and say, Roderick, I have an update for you. They wasn't over here. I just gave the wrong coordinates. We going? I'm going. Because I believe she believed it there and I got her back. Let's go.
Do you think, hindsight, right? Okay. We all know what that is, but did she get out too far in front of her skis and went too far too fast without thinking this through?
No, I don't think she expected when you have a experience that she's had that is the light, the consciousness of love, the consciousness of, freedom and all the intense feelings that comes with that, she didn't expect the darkness to hit, those dark side of this story, the dark side of the people to attack and grow stronger than the light. It should have been enough people in that community to support her, to keep her standing, to hold her up. But all it takes is one believer to be given two reasons of negative, and they turn negative quicker than they would keep believing. So I don't know if she got ahead of the skis. I just think that I would have probably, she got ahead of the government and the press and the news of, of them getting the public ready for the truth of stuff. You get what I'm saying? And so, she still was being, practical in a place that in practicality, it just wasn't going to work at the time. And so I think this story comes around again 10 years from now, 12 years from now, it's probably accepted a little more with the younger generation than it is for us who've been through all of this turmoil for years and years and never had the proof that they've been looking for, Well,
this community, and one of the cool things about this community, and it can be a bad thing too, but one of the cool things about this community is there are some very, 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 very smart people. Mm-hmm. And so, we'll always have those that want to believe and they're ready, they're open ears, and they're going to listen to what anybody has to say. And that's another part of this community that's great. But there is another part of this community, if you're going to post a video, you're going to post a picture, you have to be ready for that, because there are a lot of smart people here that have a lot of experience with investigating, and they will get to the bottom of it.
No, and I agree with you. I think your point's taken, and maybe I didn't, give them enough credence to say, I think, the answer to the question of, do I believe her or would I support her, is one thing against having the actual evidence that these people are going to pull up, because they're coming. They got it, and that's what I do for a living. So
right.
And so just so happens I'm on the other side of the story. Now, don't get me wrong. If I were listening from the other side, and didn't know her personally, okay, then I would probably be looking, because not knowing her and not knowing the backstory, I would be looking from the front and be like, oh no, come on, give me this, give me some coordinates. What are you talking about? And that is the curiosity that sparks those smart, intelligent people like ourselves who are going to, because not only if they're talking to an audience, they got to get the facts. You got to get the facts, right? And that's your job. You got to educate your audience with the facts. And so now some of the things didn't add up. So now that changes the trajectory of the story. And that is where you say, the skis, getting out front or whatever. And I think that, had the pressure didn't bend it, I probably would have just took it quietly as possible, did an excursion, and came back with the evidence of this is where we went, this is what happened, as opposed to making an announcement of it, and saying, okay, we're going to put a team of people together and we're going to do this, this, and that. But I think that was just her answering to the mob, I would say, so to speak. But I think at the end of the day, yes, everybody who did the fact checking and the facts didn't add up, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Some things did not add up. And at the end of the day, the only way out of it now is, show the proof, right? And that's it.
Now, what about Wayne? And what was that's his not his real name, but what was his wife's name? Tracy? Trisha. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they're not their real names, but let's just talk about Wayne and Trisha for a second. Why haven't did you meet them? Did you speak with them?
I did not speak with them over the phone or anything, but when me and her first talked and we went through it, she did tell who they were, so to speak, right? And not even so to speak, but we knew that when she said out loud who the name was going to be, that they were fictitious names to be used. So the characters of Wayne and Trisha did exist in the true story, in everything. But I think, again, like I said, is that when it drove people to say I found them, that's the only part that I did not, because either they found them and they could have said, okay, here's the real name, is this such and such, or not. But I found Wayne, and then stick with that is, okay, well, you don't find Wayne and you have to use that name. You found Jimmy Church. So say you found Jimmy Church, the real Wayne, right? But if you're going to say you found Wayne and you want to now keep it your secret, the same secret you say she has, okay, now we got to look at all of this. Mm-hmm. So that was where I had a line drawn.
And did you ask to speak to Wayne and Trisha?
At the time, when I first spoke with her, when we first initiated this, it was enough stress as it was at that time, as she told the story and began the process of saying, because she had no agenda at first to even come out to the public. She was just going to, again, do some anonymous posts, because when you go on Facebook, I mean, not Facebook, but Clubhouse, no one can see who you are in your profile. So she was able to use the Anjali name. That's not her real name. So no one would have known and backtracked that. So that was easy to do until we came out on live on YouTube. And so, those interviews are there. But I think that I never did ask to speak with them, because I was more concerned with, like we do in MUFON, the witness. How credible is the witness? And so that's when I started asking for more of her defense, her background in the military. Was she actually in the government? So she actually gave letters. I have letters and stuff from when she served as, an intelligence officer there, and who she worked with. And, so I went through all of that. And when that checked out, then that was enough for me to say, okay, here's somebody who has a military background in our government, who's close to some sources, that's about to break rank and say some things that this is not going to be good. This is not going to, it never has in the history of ufology where somebody whistleblowed or said anything. The odds was against her from day one. This is not. So I was just more concerned with her well-being and who she was, as opposed to, the more details of knowing already that Wayne and all this was fictitious. And since we were just developing a relationship, I wasn't going to push the envelope and say, okay, tell me where they are too. But as we develop a relationship, I, went on the journey.
Well, great conversation tonight, by the way, and I can't wait to have you back on the show. And if you ever want me over at Clubhouse, I would love to go over and hang out there for a minute. But
but
we'll do that. When it comes to Anjali, if I would give anybody advice right now, is I would just stay low and I would get this done on your own. And then come out afterwards, but don't say that it is going to happen. No, just go and do it, and then come out and say this is it.
Yep,
this is what happened, and let the chips fall. That's the best advice because you can't go and build up momentum and get people excited about this again, and turn around and break a bunch of hearts like happened this last time. That's not going to fly in the UFO community.
No, and that's why you heard me say where I prefer that. Yeah, you go get this, then you come out and say, here it is. Because like you said, there was a lot of Anjali awakened a segment of the community that didn't have much to believe, much validation is the word I'm looking for, and she was getting ready to validate a lot of people who probably in relationships was told that they were nuts. People that, feared at night, feared telling their love. This was probably going to be bigger than the government saying in 180 days we're going to release a report, right? This was going to be the big one.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and so therefore the weight of that was so huge, so big that it turned from what I think she wanted it to be a more of a community effort. We're going to do this thing, in course, the beans are behind it, and to where the bigger push. So I think that, and this is for all of us listening in the community who support your show, who support the UFO, the next time or any time we get to a point. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go out on the plank and just jump the water and just follow anybody into the sea. But at the end of the day, we got to stand stronger as a community, right? And we got to understand that, that there's a lot of people got a lot of experiences that we cannot connect with, we won't believe. But if we all just take the time to say, okay, we're just going to go on a journey to find out, we can do it. Not make a spectacle out of it, though. Right? We can't do that. But at the end of the time, take a few people with you, get the evidence, bring it back, and then there's no conversation because, documentation beats conversation any day of the week.
Thank you so much, Roderick. What a great show tonight. And Roderick's website, whythebigsecret.com. You can go and check that out, and everything that he is doing and working on is over at Why the Big Secret, and also his YouTube channel, which is Why the Big Secret, and the links for both over at jimmychurchradio.com. Roderick, be safe out there, and when you break your next story, you do it here.
We got it. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you having here. And once again, you listen to Roderick Martin on Jimmy Church Fade to Black.
That's what I'm talking about. Roderick, be safe out there, my man. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Roderick Martin. And what a great conversation tonight. Thank you so much. And tomorrow night, right here, Maureen St. Germain. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll see everybody tomorrow night, but until then, be safe. It's time to fade to black.